Hi everyone, this presentation covers Chapter 15 on synthesis research in the third edition of Jacobsen's textbook, Introduction to Health Research Methods, a Practical Guide. In this chapter, you will learn that reviews and meta-analyses gather all prior publications on a specific topic and provide an integrated summary of them. Here's an outline of the presentation. Section 15.1 covers an overview. Section 15.2 covers selecting a topic. Section 15.3 covers library access. Section 15.4 covers narrative reviews. Section 15.5 covers synthesis research or synthesis reviews. Section 15.6 covers meta-analysis, and Section 15.7 covers meta-synthesis. Section 15.1 Overview. So in this section, Jacobsen talks a little bit about synthesis research, and this is a tertiary study design. So when you think about the primary, secondary versus tertiary study designs, our synthesis research is the tertiary method. It integrates existing knowledge from previous research projects. The requirements for any review are an extensive search of the literature, extraction of key information from relevant articles, and a clear and concise presentation of this information. So figure 15.1 goes over the key characteristics of reviews and meta-analyses. It goes over the approach as well as each of the different types of reviews discussed in this chapter: the narrative review, systematic review, and meta-analysis. So just going over a couple of these here, and then you can go over the rest on your own. The objective of a narrative review is to synthesize existing knowledge. Same thing for a systematic review as well as a meta-analysis. The primary study question for a narrative review is what conclusions about this topic are supported by previous studies. The systematic review is when all previous published studies on the topic are examined, what conclusions can be drawn. And a meta-analysis is when all of the results of all the previous published studies on this topic are merged, what is the summary statistic? And so we'll go a little bit more in detail of each of these different types of reviews in the following sections. So some of the strengths of synthesis research are that it helps you become more knowledgeable of literature on a well-defined topic. Review articles often become foundational for new research in the field because they summarize what is known about an area of inquiry. Review articles may be cited more frequently than the typical article reporting the results of a primary or secondary analysis. So sometimes when you publish research studies, you may have a certain limit on the number of citations that you can have, particularly if it's a shorter article, say a brief report. You may only have 15 references, and so you may choose to use a review article in order to summarize the finding of all of those studies and be able to add additional references as needed. Some of the limitations are that not all journals publish review articles. Reviews are sometimes regarded as less original than other research. They may be viewed as less rigorous despite a meticulous library searching, a careful compilation of findings, and an interpretation of scientific information. So I would advocate that reviews can be very rigorous and can include a lot of data analysis, but it's not primary research in a sense. So section 15.2 covers selecting a topic. The most important decision for synthesis research is selection of a topic. You don't want it to be too broad, so it must be narrow enough that all the relevant publications can be acquired. The topic may need to be modified if a preliminary literature search yields too many or too few articles. And library access is key for any type of synthesis research. No review article can be written without excellent library access because every relevant article must be identified and obtained. When starting a review project, researchers really should check with their university librarian about the library's journal access policies and fees. So for example, The university may have an interlibrary loan program where you can get articles that the university does not subscribe to from other institutions for free. You also need to maintain a meticulous system for tracking articles that have already been acquired, and those that have been requested but not yet received, and those that need to be requested in order to include all of the relevant studies. Section 15.4 covers narrative reviews. A narrative review provides a unique perspective about a topic by using evidence from the literature to support an author's commentary. These are typically organized by theme, methodology, chronology, or some other guiding principle. They work best when the researcher has a unique perspective on a topic and a particular expertise in the field without requiring a systematic review. So let's say you wanted to do a narrative review on a methodology, and it was a methodology using, say, large databases. Then you would specifically focus on articles that use those large databases for your research question. That differs from a systematic review. A systematic review uses a predetermined and comprehensive searching and screening method to identify relevant articles. So an unbiased search strategy should be able to identify all articles ever published on a narrow, well-defined area covered by the review. There's usually a certain list of specific key terms that are used and a flowchart created in order to show what has been included in the original search and then what has been limited later on. Each candidate article is screened to see whether it meets inclusion criteria. Relevant information is extracted from all eligible articles and presented in a summary table, and then the trends and key observations are summarized. The systematic review process requires identification of an appropriate narrow study question, selection of well-defined and valid search strategy, screening of all potentially relevant articles, the extraction of relevant information from all eligible articles, and a summarization of the findings of these articles. Extraction can be done through paper forms, it can be done through an online survey tool, and everything goes within a database. Now this differs from the meta-analysis. A meta-analysis reviews, it includes a pooled summary statistic that combines the results of similar studies identified during a systematic review. So you're not just describing the themes of the articles that were published, you are actually looking at the results of the study, the physical numbers that are reported. A summary statistic is more meaningful when every study included in the meta-analysis use similar definitions and methods. So you want your studies to be as homogeneous as possible and have similar designs. Trying to combine dissimilar studies can hide real and meaningful differences among the study populations. The meta-analysis process requires defining the study question and developing a study protocol, using a comprehensive systematic search strategy to identify articles, using a predefined inclusion and exclusion criteria to identify those articles within that search, then extracting statistical results from each of the candidates' studies, assessing the quality and comparability of each of the candidate studies, and combining comparable statistical results into one summary statistic. So the methods for a meta-analysis are very similar to a systematic review, but then once you get to actually adding the data, that's where the meta-analysis takes it one step further to have a summary statistic. Then finally, section 15.7 covers metasynthesis. A metasynthesis is a tertiary analysis that integrates the results from several different qualitative studies. So the goal in this case is not to create some sort of aggregate measurement, but to enhance the understanding of a particular phenomenon. All right, so that is it on chapter 15. Thank you for listening.